Hey guys, DC Network here, coming at you with another video. The Annecy Film Festival was a couple of weeks ago. It happened while I was on vacation, so we spent the past week catching up on all of the major show announcements that happened there. We're basically at the tail end of that. There's a few other shows I'll touch on in some future videos, but one thing I was really expecting going into the Annecy Film Festival was news regarding the Amazing World of Gumball. It's one of Cartoon Network's premier shows that hasn't aired an episode in over 5 years. It aired its finale back in June of 2019, titled The Inquisition, which ended off on a cliffhanger, showing that the void, this static energy, is kind of taking over the world of the Amazing World of Gumball. It's going to end the universe, end the world. And we were all wondering what happens after that. What happens after that finale? And well, the answer to that was supposed to be the Amazing World of Gumball movie that got greenlit back in 2021. Alongside the movie, a new series that's aptly titled The Amazing World of Gumball. The series was also greenlit at the time, which is supposed to be some sort of sequel show that comes after the movie, because apparently this movie was going to drastically change the world of the Amazing World of Gumball. And all of that hasn't happened yet because Warner Brothers Discovery happened and they decided that they were going to cancel the movie at Max to shop it around to other streaming service providers, and really we haven't heard anything since. The other piece that adds to the confusion is last year we started seeing posts on LinkedIn from some of the people that work on the series saying that season 7 is now in development. So what is happening? Are we getting a movie? Are we getting a sequel show? Are we getting season 7? What is going on with the Amazing World of Gumball? Well, the Annecy Film Festival kind of answered some of our questions a little bit. There's still a bit of confusion surrounding this show, but at least we have a little bit more clarity. So at the festival, Ben Beauclerc, the creator of the show, had a panel where he discussed season 7 of the series. They actually showed off the first episode of season 7, which is titled The Burger, and they basically confirmed that season 7 is going to release at some point in either 2025 or 2026, and apparently season 7 is going to answer the questions of what's in the void and what happens at the finale, that cliffhanger that aired all the way back in 2019. And I'll get into my thoughts about all of this in a second, because the other piece of information that we have is apparently the movie is still in development. We have a quote coming from Midu on Twitter, who attended the panel, and essentially Ben said the movie's not dead. We still have a script I'm really working on. We still kind of want to do it, but obviously it's interesting because with time I'm now looking at the movie we were trying to make back then differently, so it's kind of good in a sense but also bad that I kind of get to sort of revise the story and stuff and have a really new take on it, so it's definitely not dead. There's a lot to unpack here. So first and foremost, let's just straight up say, what is the future of the Amazing World of Gumball? The future of the Amazing World of Gumball is we are getting a season 7 either in 2025 or 2026, and that season is apparently going to touch on what happens after the finale. It's going to be a continuation of the show. The strange thing about this for me is just it's rather confusing again, because the show ended where the void kind of swallowed Ra, and the movie was going to pick up on that and kind of develop that plot line to end the show and send it off into the sunset. But now they're not doing that. They're doing more show, and the new show, season 7, is going to pick up on that plot point. The strange part about this to me is the first episode of season 7 is titled The Burger, and they actually played the episode at the convention, and basically what it is Gumball and Darwin are trying to eat healthier. I'm not going to get into the episode breakdown because I haven't seen it, but that's essentially the plot of the episode. In no way does it mention the void at all whatsoever, at least from what we know right now. Maybe it does at the end, who knows, but from what I know, from what we know from this festival, it doesn't mention the void. I'm just so confused by everything that's going on here, because essentially what it seems like happened to me is essentially the Amazing World of Gumball movie was canceled. The movie was canceled alongside the sequel series that was supposed to come after that movie. They were both canceled. They are both no longer happening. Ben is saying here that a movie is still in development. I think that movie is completely different from the original movie we were supposed to be getting, because the original movie we were supposed to be getting was supposed to answer the questions that were set up in the finale to conclude the story of the Amazing World of Gumball. That was the point of the initial movie. Now that is no longer happening because season 7 is going to do that. Season 7 is going to resolve the plot points that were set forth in the finale. So essentially what it seems like to me is the Amazing World of Gumball, Warner Brothers Discovery decided, you know what, this is a rather successful show for us. This is a show that we air a lot on Cartoon Network. Let's continue it. Let's not end it. Let's make it the new SpongeBob. We're going to continue episodes for the next 20 years. Let's just keep going as long as we can. And I think that's essentially what they're doing. They're just going to keep making new seasons of this show to milk it as much as they can. And maybe Ben will get a movie at some point, because here's the thing. If Ben was working on a script, is what he's saying here, if Ben is working on a script for the movie, that means that movie is not coming before this season premieres. This season's premiering in 2025 or 2026. There's no shot they can finish a movie before this season completes production because the season's already well along into development. The movie doesn't even have a script yet. So essentially what this tells me is, as I said before, the movie that was announced, the sequel series that was announced, they were both canceled by Warner Brothers Discovery. And instead of doing those two things, they're going to make more of The Amazing World of Gumball in season 7. And if things are going well, maybe Ben will get his movie. Because let's be real here, just because he's working on a script doesn't mean he's going to get a movie. He'd like to get a movie. He's been on the record saying this for years, but whether he does or doesn't, that remains to be seen. All we can say right now is, technically speaking, yes, a movie is in early development. Is that movie going to get picked up? It might not. What is for certain happening is we are getting a 7th season of this show. The other thing I want to discuss is this is going to be one of the longest hiatuses in the history of television, because this show was never officially canceled. This show was never over according to Cartoon Network. According to Cartoon Network, yes, the original series concluded with that finale in season 6, but we were going to get a movie that leads into a sequel show. And now essentially what's happening is we're going to end up having a 6 or 7 year hiatus between the original finale, that big cliffhanger, and the next season of the show, which is just absolutely absurd to me. If you can't tell from my voice, I'm just rather frustrated at this whole situation because I just don't understand how we went from this show is over to we're making a movie for it to now we're making a sequel show for it to now all of that's been canceled. We're now doing a 7th season of the show instead, and maybe we'll do a movie too if time permits. I just don't understand. What I really do think happened though with the initial movie is, I remember in the past, I forgot who said this. It might have been Rebecca Sugar. Don't quote me on that though, but someone who works on a Cartoon Network series and created their own show had said that Cartoon Network at the time was reluctant to give a creator a movie unless if it meant that more series was coming. So I think that when The Amazing World of Gumball initially ended in 2019, I think Ben wanted to send it off with the movie being the finale of the series, kind of like how we got with Ed and Eddie and The Big Picture Show, right? The Big Picture Show is the series finale for Ed and Eddie, but I think what happened was Cartoon Network was probably saying, we're not going to give you a movie because what's the point, because the show's over then. It's not going to promote the series because there's nothing to promote anymore because you ended the show. I think what probably happened is Cartoon Network was like, okay, we'll give you the movie on one condition. We'll give you this movie if you agree to make more of the show, which is why the sequel series was later announced, because if you guys recall, the movie was announced first, then about like 4 to 5 months later, they did a second announcement for the movie and announced the sequel show. So I think that's most likely what happened, that this was initially supposed to be the end of the show. We were not going to get more of The Amazing World of Gumball in the form of a TV series, but then in order to get the movie made, Ben agreed to do another show, but then that all got destroyed once Warner Brothers Discovery came in, and now we have the confusion that we have right now, where we're getting a season 7 of The Amazing World of Gumball. It's supposed to tie up the loose ends that were left over in the original finale in season 6, and then if time permits, maybe we'll get a movie down the line too. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with all of that, but for now, we know that there is more Gumball coming, and it's not gonna come for another year or two, which is rather disappointing to see, because imagine this, someone like me who's been a fan of the series has been waiting to see what happens after the finale for the past 5 years, but imagine if you were a kid growing up on this show and you were looking forward to seeing what happens after the Inquisition. You now are 5 years older. You'll be 6 years older next year and 7 years older the year after that. So by the time you actually get the answer to that question, the original audience of the show is no longer going to be watching the show, unless if there's someone like me or someone like you who still cares about it. But majority of the kids who grew up on this show, I can almost guarantee you aren't going to watch what happens in season 7 because they've moved on from it. They've grown up. They don't care about Cartoon Network anymore. They don't care about The Amazing World of Gumball anymore, and that's 100% Cartoon Network's fault. I don't understand how you have a series that aired its finale in June of 2019, and I'm talking to you in June of 2024, and we're about a year or two away until we actually find out what happens after that finale. The cliffhanger that you guys left, apparently it's not the finale because there's going to be more of the show. I just don't get it. I can't wrap my head around it. It's just a complete and utter mess. And again, this is one of their premiere shows in The Amazing World of Gumball. If they're treating this show this way, imagine how they would treat a new IP or a new property that would come down the pipeline. Anyways, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. What do you guys think about the mess that is The Amazing World of Gumball Season 7, the movie, the sequel show, and all of that? Do you guys agree with me that this is just absolutely a horrible showing by Cartoon Network? And it's just really sad to even have to discuss because this is absolutely ridiculous. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from DC Network. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.